In this video we're going to make a simple wire wrapped gemstone ring. I'm making one just like this with a round 8mm bead. The wire for the band comes right around underneath the gemstone on each side, making a full circle there and securing on each side. Having the wire come right around and sitting underneath the gemstone, it sort of has the gemstone able to be the centerpiece of the ring, and it sits up off your finger, making it really comfortable to wear. It's a really versatile design. Basically you can use any small bead or crystal point that's drilled in the center. You can see here I've used the same design, but we've got a bead, a Herkimer diamond and a double-ended point. So it works perfect for these as well. Today we're just going to use an 8mm gemstone bead. I've got a ring mandrel here with the sizes on it. You don't need the groove in a ring mandrel for this design, as the bead sits above your finger. So if you don't have one of those, you can just as easily use a pen or something shaped about the same size as a finger. For this design we're using about 9 inches of our 20 gauge dead soft silver wire. You can use 10 inches if it's going to be a bigger ring. First thing we do is just place the bead onto the wire and have it sitting in the middle there. Now we want to place a nice bend on each side of the bead so that the bead can't slide around anywhere, so you're bringing those wires to meet each other. Now we can place our wire wrap onto the mandrel or pen, whatever you're using. If you are using a mandrel, you don't put the bead down inside the groove for this design. I do tend to size up half a size when I start, so that's something to be aware of if you're using a pen. The rings do seem to get a little bit smaller while you're working with them, so just be aware of that while you're wrapping. Now we can bring each wire right around the mandrel to start to form the band on your ring. Making sure not to cross any of those wires over. You want your band to be nice and flat, and you're also bringing one wire on each side of the bead. You can give them a little tug with your pliers there just to make sure they're sitting nice and tight. You should have something that looks a bit like this, but you need to bring your wire around past the bead because it's going to sit sort of around on the band underneath the bead. And once the wires come past the bead, you can start to gently bring that wire across over the band. So bring this one down and then this one up, just so it's crossing over that band there. Then we can take our ring off our mandrel, making sure that those band wires are nice and flat and they're not crossing over each other. Now we're going to secure each side of the wire around the band on each side of the bead there. Holding it quite firmly in one hand, we want to just work with our pliers, bending this wire from the end, bending it around inwards and around inside the ring so that we can bring it around that band a couple of times near the top where the wires join. Just be aware as you're doing this, you're trying not to actually pull the wire tight, you're just working this wire around the band. We don't want to tighten that ring up too much or it's going to make it a lot smaller than we measured it. So just trying to keep it a similar size and just work really gently with this wire so that you can get some really nice tight, tidy loops on your band and they look nice and clean. I normally try for 3 loops around on each side. 2 is also secure enough as well. Most importantly, you just want to keep focused on keeping them nice and close together and flat. That helps to keep the band wires together and nice and flat too. Once you've done your 3 loops around and you're happy with them, then we're going to bring this little tail up on the inside so that we can cut it off nice and close and crimp it down on the inside so that you can't see or feel it as well. Doing one final check on all my loops there with my pliers. Now we can swap our ring onto the other side, and we're going to hold it firmly and gently and do the same thing on this side as well. Starting with that wire just coming over the top of the band, bending the wire from the end around inside the ring, and slowly working it around to form our loops around the band. And again, to match the first side, we're trying for 3 full loops around the band. Working with this wire, again, trying not to pull it tight, but we're just bending it and sort of wrapping it around the band as we go. Making sure that those wires around the whole band stay nice and flat and they're sitting nicely next to each other. Working this wire around for your 3 loops nice and tidy. Making sure you've crimped them all down nice and flat and tight. Once this side of your ring is matchy with the first side, you can gently lift this little tail up on the inside of the ring and cut it off in a way that you can crimp it down, and the end of it is going to be sitting on the inside of your ring. See how my little tail is super short under there? And then just crimping it in nice and flat. You want to make sure there's no sharp points anywhere on the ring, especially underneath where it would be sitting on your finger. Your ring should already be nice and even, but you can take some extra time now with your pliers just to make sure it's all tight and sitting symmetrically and how you like it. There's your simple wire wrapped gemstone ring.